So I'm introducing Dr. Arto Reiman. He is a research team leader at the University of Oulu in Finland. He's previously also been the Finnish Ergonomics Society chair for 4 years, which he finished that term in 2022. And he also sits or has sat on the board of the Nordic Ergonomics and Human Factors Society. Arto is going to be talking about some aspects of the future of work coming from a Finnish or Northern European perspective. And I'm going to be handing over to him right now. I was going to switch my camera off. Arto, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I will share my screen. Just wait a moment. Okay, the typical question in this at this phase, that can you see my screen now?
Yes, can see your screen, Arto.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Andrew, and thanks for inviting me to have this speech on webinar speech on this future of work perspectives. And in this presentation, I will focus on manufacturing in Finland, and a special focus is paid on our research project and the preliminary findings that we have concerning technology transformation and technology adoption in the context of Industry 4.0. So we have had a project for about 2 years in Finland, and parts of the results that I'm presenting are kind of an preliminary at the moment. So we have an article manuscript that is in review. So it is not. We are the things that I'm presenting should be understood that they are preliminary at this stage. I'm sorry that we prepared this webinar with Professor Jari Kaivoja, but I don't know where Jari is. Apparently he is not online. So we plan to have this presentation so that the first part is in the first half of this presentation, Jari would have discussed about the future of work in a more general way, and then as a future scientist, he would have shown some ideas about the future of work, and then he would have shown you something about the research framework that we had. So we utilized this kind of an dynamic capabilities framework. But I'll try to include as much as possible also these aspects in my presentation. So thank you again on this invitation, and I think that I can go on with the presentation now. So before going into these human factors and ergonomics aspects in manufacturing and in the context of Industry 4.0, I think that it is very important to tell you or present you the context of the ergonomic situation in Finland. So in Finland, the way we see ergonomics is quite narrow. I must say so. And usually, when you go to the companies and workplaces and discuss with them on ergonomics and ask them what is ergonomics, they tell you that the ergonomics is something that is provided by the occupational health services to the workplaces, and usually or maybe mainly the services are provided by occupational physiotherapists. So in a sense, there's a big problem related to this ergonomics definition in Finland, and to my understanding and to our understanding, this also relates to the way how ergonomics is seen in the companies. It's seen from the employee health and well-being perspective, and not from the productivity perspective, because occupational healthcare services are driven by the Occupational Healthcare Act, and in that act, of course, the focus is on human well-being and safety and these kind of issues, and the productivity perspective is not included or mentioned in the law. So we have kind of a gap between the companies and the expertise provided to them, and we are very worried that is there anybody in Finland actually, or there are not that many people in Finland who are providing ergonomics services to companies from that broad perspective, that they are so that we would optimize human well-being and overall system performance, as stated in the IEA definition for ergonomics in human factors. And this comes well through also when you check, for instance, when you check from the internet, make a Google search and put there a Finnish version of ergonomics, ergonomia, as a word, and check, for instance, the picture search, what kind of an image you get from the ergonomics through this search. So this is important background. As you can see, you are all familiar with ergonomics, and you can see that these are quite narrow perspectives that are provided through this picture search. Usually, in most cases, there's one individual sitting in front of a desk and using computer. That is, of course, important in the context of ergonomics, but that is not maybe the best way to sell it to the company people from the productivity perspective. So this is the kind of the background contextual issues that must be understood when we are discussing about the company's capabilities to to move towards this Industry 4.0 technologies. For whom and how they get ergonomic services, and what kind of services they get. And yeah, but I just made a very quick Google search on business management literature or some business management journals, and tried to check whether in some other countries than in Finland how they see ergonomics, and the situation is not that. I would say that it's not better also in other countries, as you can see from the Harvard Business Review and Forbes, for instance. I tried to search how ergonomics is discussed in these high-level business management journals. So in a sense, I guess that the results that we have had from this Finnish project concerning manufacturing companies and their capabilities to use ergonomics are in a sense, they might be applicable also in other countries. So the problem is in Finland is that now when the human factors and ergonomics is only or mainly and only driven by this health and safety legislation, and then the focus is, as said, the focus is on well-being and health and safety issues, not on system optimization. Then and they are provided by the occupational healthcare operators and so on. So we had some kind of a pre-idea while we were planning the project that it might be so that the companies and the service providers are not that capable of providing high quality, in-depth ergonomic services to companies that are trying to transform their production lines and manufacturing facilities into high technology facilities. So this is a problem in Finland, and we in the beginning of the project, we made a systematic review where we checked what is the current understanding of these issues in the literature at the moment, and that strengthened our original idea that companies or the existing knowledge on human factors and ergonomics in this context is quite narrow also abroad, not only in Finland, and we question how the company's capabilities to analyze risks, different health and safety risks, and risks from the human work perspective, what they identify, how they evaluate them, and how they manage them in this new technology context. So we were a bit afraid that this is the situation, that they do not have these kind of capabilities, and the situation is getting worse and worse because the cognitive challenge or the cognitive capabilities are needed more and more to use these new technologies. Then there's a problem concerning the trust, how to use this kind of human work related data that can be collected within these new Industry 4.0 technologies. They can be used, these technologies can be used to collect data from the production line, but also from the employees and concerning their personal performance, and that is a huge issue also that should be considered when considering ergonomics in this context. So if we are collecting this kind of human work performance data, how it is used and how it is stored, and these kind of issues, who is using it, who has the access to this material, and these kind of issues. So these were the things that we were worried in the beginning of the project, and then we started our ERGO 2030 project, where we were willing to understand in depth how ergonomics is understood and how they perceive these kind of perspectives, ergonomics perspectives or challenges or risks or problems that I just shortly showed you, how they perceive these kind of issues. Do they manage them, and how do they take them into account when they are making management decisions and so on. So we started this project within this multidisciplinary research project where Professor Kaivo represents future sciences. I represent industrial engineering and human factors. Then Esa-Pekka Takala is a medical doctor, at that time representing Finnish Institute of Occupational Health. And then we had Dr. Teresa Laureus, who is a doctor in economics. And then we had Miss Elina Parviainen also along with this team. And Elina is a long-time professional, human factors and ergonomics professional with work experience from high-tech companies in Finland. So this kind of within this kind of a multidisciplinary research team, we started to think that how we could approach this challenge to understand better these human factors and ergonomics capabilities from the company perspective. And we selected, as a framework, we selected a very well-known business management framework that is published by Professor David J. Dees the United States. It was published in 1997 and has continued from that on. And it has been stated in the literature that it is arguably maybe the most promising approach to the theories of organizational dynamic capabilities. And the dynamic capabilities in his framework relate to organizations' abilities or capabilities to identify new threats and business opportunities. He calls this phase sensing something, so sensing new business opportunities and sensing new risks. And we adopted that first phase from the human factors perspective. How do these companies sense human factors and ergonomics related problems when they are adopting new technologies. Then the second phase in this thesis model is called seizing, and that we applied from the human factors perspective, so that when the companies have selected these new technologies to be implemented in their production lines, they should then design them into the local application. So design how to implement these specific technologies into their facilities. So that is from our perspective, this seizing phase relates to this design phase. And then, as the third and the last phase from this thesis dynamic capabilities model is called shifting or transforming or reconfiguring. We selected to use the word shifting because we wanted to understand better how is ergonomics present when these new technologies are shifted in use in practice in this company. So there are three phases: sensing new risks and opportunities, seizing to these opportunities, that means designing them into local application, and then shifting them into practical use when they actually take them into use. And we decided to that because we want to go in depth in this area. We decided that we should have some kind of a mixed methods approach in our research, and we selected that we collect some data from the companies via a web questionnaire, so that we have certain pre-understanding on the company and how these technology issues and human factors are taken into account in these particular companies. And then we selected that we in-depth this understanding with interviews inside the companies. And we selected these while we were selecting these target companies, we decided that they should represent so-called pioneer companies in Finland. So they should be pioneer companies from the technology transformation perspective. Pioneering means, in our case, that they should be active in trying to find and implement new technologies in their production facilities. So we made an assumption that these kind of pioneer companies in the new technology adoption are also represent the best. This would be the best way to find companies that are most likely or most close to this Industry 4.0 phenomenon, because there is no way that you can point out to a company that you are an Industry 4.0 company and you are not. but we had to make this kind of pre-assumptions where we focused on, selected to focus on this kind of pioneering companies. And while we were selecting these companies, we contacted 3 national large business networks and their experts, and we kind of agreed with those on the names of the companies that could be potentially could be considered in this context as potential subject companies. And altogether, we found we were able to have a contact with 15 companies in Finland, and they were different by their size and different by the products they use, but they all had this kind of an pioneering approach to new technology. So that is something that makes them uniform from the research perspective. And then we started the project and had this pre survey, and then these interviews with the companies. And now we come to the part that we have not published yet. So there are some question marks marked in this document or in this slide that mark the issues that we have found. But in principle, we tried to find out during the interviews that why did the company, what were the triggers to renew or start adopting new technology, new production technology? Why did they start this kind of process? And we tried to capture how is human factors and ergonomics present in this decision-making phase. And I can say already now that it's not present. They are not making. They are not. The triggers do not come from the human work perspective, but they come from other perspectives. They come from business goals and technology goals. That's why new technologies are considered and implemented, not because of they are willing to improve and make human work better. So that's one thing that we learned. Then what comes to the sensing phase? So sensing new technologies. When the company has made a decision that we should renew our production line or part of it or do something, then we, according to this thesis model, there's this the sensing phase is the first one. Now they are sensing new technological opportunities. What kind of opportunities do we have to improve our production line, for instance? And we tried to understand how is human factors and ergonomics present at that phase when they are sensing new technologies. And again, not very, I would say that from the ergonomics perspective, it's not that, it's not present there. They might maybe utilize their occupational healthcare services, but as I said, these are provided by these occupational physiotherapists and so on. So the capabilities, are they capable in a sense contributing to technology discussion from the human work performance improvement perspective? I would say no, and that is our conclusion, that they are not capable of doing that. Then we discussed in this or tried to find what kind of documentation is used and these kind of issues, and also from that perspective, the design documentation concerning human factors and ergonomics and so on it's not present at that phase. Then they make, after the sensing phase, they make a decision, or they provide, the process produces some outputs. And we tried to find out how is human factors and ergonomics included in this output. outputs. This might be, for instance, design documents for the new technology, or this is a documentation this is a document where they have selected the technology. But how is human factors and ergonomics included? Well, apparently it's not because the expertise is quite narrow, so it is also narrow in this phase. Then we move to this seizing phase, where they start designing these new technologies into their own view. How it is implemented in the facilities. So again, we tried to find out from different perspectives how is human factors and ergonomics present. For instance, what kind of expertise is used. Again, not that broadly, mainly from those that I mentioned already, those occupational physiotherapists or safety specialists who check the technology and the design documentation from their own perspective. They check that the occupational safety laws and these kind of issues are fulfilled and so on. But again, from the human work performance, not that much to tell you at this moment. Again, this seizing phase, this leads to some kind of documentation, design documentation that is mentioned as an output again in this phase. So they make some kind of an output, design documentation and so on. How is human factors and ergonomics included in that phase? Well, apparently it's not because or it's quite narrowly and from the safety and health perspective only mentioned. So this was the second phase. And then now we come to the third phase, where the third phase by the thesis model, the shifting phase or transforming phase or the configuration phase, just how you want to say, but we selected to use the shifting phase. And how is ergonomics and human factors and ergonomics handled in this phase when they are actually implementing the technology in the production line and starting to use. And again, as you might see, as you saw from the previous phases, sensing and seizing, also in this shifting phase, the human factors and ergonomics expertise is quite narrow, again from the same stakeholders, I would say, and they are providing human factors and ergonomic services from their own perspective. And this phase also ends up in some kind of an output, some kind of a documentation. How did the implementation went and so on. And it is also a documentation that the business management is interested when they are evaluating the effect of the new technology that has been implemented into the manufacturing facilities, and they might check how the follow-up. They might have some kind of they have some kind of ideas to follow the effectiveness and so on. But again, from the human factors and ergonomics perspective, not that much to tell at this phase. So the thing that we found from this qualitative interview phase from these 15 companies of a different size, all still pioneering companies, is maybe the conclusion is that human factors and ergonomics is a very conservative concept to them. It is mainly, and I would say almost only, coming from the perspectives of occupational health and safety, and that is of course limited from the human work performance perspective. And this is kind of on the roadmap that we are trying to create during this project and in the publications that we are making, so that we are trying to implement or create some kind of a roadmap where that the companies could utilize to implement human factor more broadly and human factors and ergonomics in these technology transformation phases from the perspectives of sensing new technologies, seizing them, and then shifting them into use. So, as a conclusion, the expertise is very narrow, and as the expertise is narrow and it has been so for I would say decades, the companies do not understand that there could be something else also that human factors and ergonomics specialists could provide to them, but because they do not know the possibilities that human factors and ergonomics could provide, they might make decisions that are kind of sub-optimized from the human work performance, and the results that they get from these development processes are maybe not sustainable from the human work performance, from the human work perspective, and so on. And because of this tradition in Finland that we don't understand what is human factors and ergonomics, we don't have actually very good proof of the effectiveness that we could share to the companies, that there is something more that ergonomics could provide. So in a sense, we have concluded that we are in a loop where nobody takes an action to develop human work from these synergistic perspectives to improve well-being and system performance simultaneously, and we are just using ergonomics to improve human health and well-being. That is of course important, but we are kind of forgetting the other perspective, this productivity perspective, and that is something that should be and what is interesting for the business management. So it's a bit worrying situation at the moment. And we, in our review article, we also provided some kind of scenarios for this maturities. So there might be scenarios where the technological capabilities they grow to a high maturity, but then there's at the same time, as it seems in Finland, that the human factors and ergonomic maturity is quite low and so on. So we created these kind of scenarios, and we are a bit worried that how we are going on a direction that is not that sustainable from the human work performance perspective. So we are in a loop where ergonomics is used to improve human health and well-being, but there are nobody actually taking care of this human work performance issue, and we are might be heading to these worrying scenarios that are not desirable in a sense. So this is the phase that we are now in this project. We are trying to publish our results in scientific journals, but as you all know, it's not that the processes are not that easy, and it takes time to get them published. So we do not have exact details and so on at the moment to tell you about these findings or where we will be publishing them. But I would still like to end my presentation in a sense, in a right way, to provide you some kind of an historical perspective on also on these human factors and ergonomics on these issues. So it has been stated, shown in the literature, that this our understanding on human factors and ergonomics has grown all the time during these industrial revolutions that this fourth industrial revolution represents, or this industry 4.0 phenomenon represents at the moment. This is the peak where we are at the moment. And all the time after these industrial revolutions, also the human factors understanding has grown. And I'm expecting that also the human factors understanding is growing also, and we are able to provide new insights how to meet these challenges by that this fourth industrial revolution or the industry 4.0 phenomenon brings along. But then again, there's this is not likely, this is not the last industrial revolution, this fourth revolution that we are now living, or the wave that we are riding at the moment. And there are many papers published on the future of these industrial revolutions, industry 5.0, industry 6.0, and so on. And of course, it is a challenge also for us as human factors and ergonomics specialists, how to meet these challenges that we are now facing at this industry 4.0 phase, but also in the future. And I would like to end my presentation in this industry 4.0 phase that is and has been. There are some visions have been shown and stated by different researchers and so on, but maybe the strongest visions at the moment come from the European Union and their vision papers. And there's a quite good web pages and documentation on, and vision documentation and vision papers on Industry 5.0 at these European Commission web pages. And I would recommend you to get familiar to those when you are considering how and why we should also develop this ergonomics and human factors in ergonomics discipline. But I will end in this kind of a constructive and positive perspective that there's room for human factors and ergonomics also in a sense in the future of work, like it says in this industry 5.0 visions that we will be heading to human-centered future that promotes talents, diversity and empowerment and so on. And the industries should also take these visions into account when they are considering their next visions on and business actions, how to increase their competitiveness and so on. But I will end you. Yeah, I will thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I don't know if Jari came to the line or not. If not, then I'm available for your questions. I noticed that adjunct Professor Esa-Pekka Takala is also in the. Esa-Pekka is also participating in this meeting, so you can point the questions not only to me but also to Esa-Pekka, so we can try to answer those, the two of us.
Thank you very much, Arto. Kiros from us at the IEA for a very interesting perspective on the work that you've been doing. I see there's been some questions starting to come in, and there are two questions here from Fiona and another one from Linda in the chat function. The ones from Fiona came in first. So let me just, if you don't mind, let me just ask you these questions. The first one from Fiona is, what strategies are you using to try to get industry engaged with the role that human factors and ergonomics can play in business optimization? Have you thought about, is that something that you've considered in the papers?
Well, that is a long road. So first, as I mentioned, that because we should start from the beginning. So in Finland, we have actually, we need to focus on telling what is ergonomics. What does ergonomics mean? It is about human well-being and productivity. And the companies do not know that this productivity perspective. So I have met several companies and had interviews and held training to companies where I have told them these things that we think that everybody knows that. But in every training and in every interview, they are kind of surprised that is ergonomics really this. So the strategy is to start from the beginning. So start telling them again that what is ergonomics.
Well, thank you. Fiona's second question is actually probably more for me than it is for you. Fiona asked, will the slide pack be available after the webinar?
Yeah.
So we haven't made the slide packs available yet, but there will be a recording. So you can go through the recording and the slides will obviously be in the recording. So you'll be able to, Fiona, you'll be able to pick it up from there. It's quite difficult to connect individuals to individual participants too. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. Linda's question, I think, is specifically focused on your last slide, and that was about with the companies which you worked with. Were any of the companies? Let me rephrase the question. What was the awareness of companies that you interviewed about Industry 5.0, about creating human-centered organizations?
The companies are, in a sense, the companies we interviewed, they all knew what is Industry 4.0, but I don't think that they do know what is Industry 5.0. They might have some idea, but it's not something that they are actively discussing in the companies, because the companies are more or less trying to find ways how to keep along with this Industry 4.0 wave in a sense, even though they are pioneering companies, but still they have work to do also with the 4.0.
I see Linda's got a follow-up question on that. So let me, Fiona, I've also got your question in line. Hopefully we can get to both of them. So Linda's question is, some occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and other practitioners are actually aware of the breadth of ergonomics, but they report that it's difficult to practice the full breadth of ergonomics because companies only hire them to do the OHS stuff. Linda, I'm not sure of your context. Maybe you could just type in your context just to give us a bit of background on that. So do you have similar feedback from people who practice ergonomics in Finland? Is this a similar type of limitation that they find in Finland?
Coming to the first question, I think that it's not fair. I strongly believe that the occupational physiotherapists, they know what is ergonomics. They know the definition of ergonomics, that is about well-being and productivity. But the problem is that they are working in private occupational healthcare services that are driven by the Occupational Healthcare Act. And in that act, there's nothing mentioned about the productivity perspective. So they must fulfill the health and safety perspective, or they must obey that act and go on with that. So I'm sure that they know this productivity perspective, but it's something that they do not provide to these companies still.
Okay, now I get. Okay, I can see how that would be quite difficult to do that. Fiona's question actually matches in with a question which I had. So with your permission, Fiona, or just I'll try to incorporate them together. And it's a question that says, I mean, the work you were presenting here today was focusing on the manufacturing industry. So my question is, did you focus on the manufacturing industry because that's the predominant industry in Finland? And then Fiona's question is, are there other Finnish industries that are more accepting of HF than the manufacturing industries, or is this an answer that ergonomics is restricted across the different industries?
Yeah. Maybe the manufacturing industry was selected because of its potential for national level economic wealth and these kind of issues. It's an important industry in Finland, providing us wealth and so on. Likely these things that these ergonomics issues are also applicable to other industrial domains like process industries and so on. So I would guess that it's the same also in those. And then coming to other branches like social and healthcare, that is a totally that is an area in which in Finland we have had many discussions on the weaknesses from the ergonomics perspective, but they have not been solved. So I'm guessing that this kind of an ergonomic understanding is needed also in these other sectors.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the slide before this one that you were on was, I think it was the slide before this one. Yes, this one over here. Is that does Industry 4.0 characterize where Finland is at the moment, or where Finland is going to head to by 2030? Is that how you see it?
I wouldn't say that we are there, but we are a high technology country. So I think that in a sense we are kind of pioneering also in that perspective, but we have also our problems related problematic issues related to this new technology transformation, because one issue is that we have not yet managed was the crisis with Nokia who produces these mobile phones and these kind of issues. That was a huge industry and a pioneer in this third industrial revolution in Finland, and I guess it's some kind of an assumption from our team that we have still not survived from this Nokia crisis, that is something like 10 to 15 years old or 20 years old. So we are trying to find ways how to leave behind this third industrial revolution and jump into this fourth industrial revolution.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'm just seeing there's a perhaps we can squeeze one last question in here. This one also comes from Fiona. I mean, this is quite a broad question, so maybe just your thoughts on this, and that is, what do you think will characterize IR 5.0? And can you predict where human factors will add the most value?
Where we are heading, definitely we are heading to a situation where technologies are used to collect human data, and that is something that relates to this phenomenon, human work performance data and these kind of issues, and how to use it ethically right. That is a big question. And then, of course, there are these new technologies, assistive technologies like exoskeletons that are they, how are they taken in the companies and so on. So it's not only the production technologies, but the technologies are can also improve human factors and ergonomics for the employees.
I see someone just took a picture of me with my head away, writing some notes down. So I get thanks, Maggie. You got proof of work.
Sorry.
I think we probably should close it at that point. Just to let everyone know that in a day or so, the Alexandra from the IEA will take this recording and make sure that the copy is available on our IEA YouTube channel. I posted that. If you look in the chat, I posted that link high up in the channel, high up in the chat, and you can find the 3 previous webinars on the Future of Work series, as well as this interesting presentation from Arto. So just to say finally, thank you very much, Arto, for sharing this work with us, Kiitos. And we look forward to finding the publications in press. I see you've given some hints about where you're looking at publishing them. I believe there's a large report, the overall report. Is that available for people to look at? Would they be able to find that, or are you going backwards?
We have only this one, but this is only in Finnish. So
okay. So yeah, unless your Finnish is good, and I see the ERGO 23 in English at the end over there, that you'll be able to find that. Okay. Yeah. So if you go through, you should be able to find the materials there. Arto, I'll be in touch in the future to get your thoughts on and when we start putting this together. So thank you very much for your input so far, and thank you very much to everyone else who took the time out of their day, evening or morning to come and enjoy and attend. Esa, I'm just going to put you on allow to talk. I don't know if you want to add anything to what Arto said. I'm probably frightening you. You're able to. I've managed to put you into unmute. I don't know if you wanted to add anything. Okay, that didn't work. I can't actually hear you at the moment. All right. Okay. Doesn't look like that's going to play ball with us at the moment. The human factors and ergonomics of the system is not joining and playing the same game that we are. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Just to let you know that there will be another webinar on the future of work next month. Next month we are having a presentation from Germany, so from Central Europe, about the future of work and what is happening. So thank you very much.